Oh, here we go. Wings and things. All right, you guys are live. So
We're live. I actually have a question about the whole $5 donation.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you guys are you guys putting all the masquerade entries in, or do we have to donate another $5?
Well, we are putting all the masquerade donations in. However, all of the money goes to the Canadian Mental Health Association.
So
So
if we put another $5 in, that makes it
you
10?
get another thing into the draw, and then you get a con sticker.
Woohoo!
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
just so yes, for every
That makes
$5
sense.
you donate, you get an extra ticket into that draw.
Oh, I like
All right.
that.
All right.
I like
Good
that.
stuff.
I think we have to find $5 before the day's over.
I think so. I think
Yes, we do.
All right.
All right, let's see if this worked.
Let's see. Oh,
Okay.
there's probably sound.
It's okay. All right. So this is wings and things. We always say in things because sometimes the wing part goes by fast and sometimes it goes by slow. I've divided it up and made it more organized because we are experimenting with a new format for our panels, and that's having individual videos for each section so that we have a structure that can be followed, as opposed to a kind of haphazard everywhere and not getting information out. Now, if I remember correctly, the first video, the 01, she's figuring this out. If I remember correctly, it is fabric and wire.
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, if you want, you can just play the other one. And I'll ask you to pause every once in a while.
All right.
Yes. So back in the mid-90s, we made this pair for a book launch. And it was the first pair of wings we'd ever done. So we used coat hanger wire. And we found this really nice kind of iridescency mesh fabric. And then what we did was we did a back plate with two tubes. And we put the wire through the tube and then just bent it on the end. That way, if I leaned forward, they would come forward. If I leaned back, they would go back. Now, we used some of that we had learned more recently to make a customer a pair of wings. But in this case, it was purchased wire. So it was much more pliable and painted on just like the original wings back in the 90s. She was very happy with them. We used a clear plate this time.
Mm-hmm. Again, with two tubes inside that the wing wire ends of the wings would slide down into.
And we used magnets this time. So she either magnets it to the back plate, which is clear, or she magnets them together if she wants them directly behind her. She was very happy, which made us very happy. And we want to perfect the design a little bit more for future customers. We personally don't like the wire design because it's too easy to bend and fold and not successfully be static. The same shape and size. Now you can also go to a painting level like this, where you're painting over top of. These are not complicated at all. They're just stuck down to the cloth backplate and stitched to her outfit.
Yeah.
I am looking over at the TV, which is showing what's on air, and I'm still seeing ads.
Still delayed?
That's a hell of a delay if we're delayed.
One heck of a delay.
What's everyone else seeing? Currently watching 80s TMNT.
On Discord, on the Discord.
My apologies.
Okay. Oh.
we are.
Wow.
Now I can see comments.
We can see clearly now.
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
Our brains are gone.
That's okay. That's okay. We're all good. So when it finally switches over, there we go.
Okay, now we're on.
So yeah, we don't like the wireframe because it's too easy to change its shape and go so wrong. So here we have cellophane and plastics. We started experimenting with plastics and the cellophane, and put the cellophane in between. I didn't want to put cellophane on wires because one of our characters for our Renaissance Festival had done that, like a lot of people do, and walking around the parades, walking around the festival itself, she was constantly tearing her wings.
So she must have repaired and replaced her wings easily a dozen times over the course of just a couple of years.
So we started experimenting with things like PETG and eventually moved on to Lexan. Lexan is a type of sheet plastic that is less flexible than PETG, but takes the movement a little more. So we've been spray gluing the cellophane down to the plastics. I think what we'll do is we'll pull the actual wings out after the videos are done.
After the videos,
Yeah,
sure.
and we'll just recap a little bit with the actual wings.
Okay.
But we've noticed that the most recent pair that we made for that character, those are the old pair there, that's the new pair there, has got air and water, moisture trapped inside it.
Air bubbles, yeah.
So we may have to find a different glue than the spray glue to resolve that. So yeah, we'll show you that afterwards. We're just going to plow through the video. And then hopefully if anyone's here, build up your questions for that point when the video's done. So we're going to move from that to, I believe it's a comparison between a painted and cellophane, if I remember correctly.
I believe so, yeah.
This is much nicer. Some materials are better static. Okay, so those are the PETG wings flapping. You can see they got a gorgeous movement to them. They've got a nice fluidity. I like the fact that the wings themselves, flex, but they were flexing apart. So we sold them to a friend who was willing to pull them apart and stick them all back together with fresh, cellophane where she needed to, et cetera, et cetera. She wears them static, and they're still going today.
Toronto Zoo. Actually, that footage of the flapping was taken at Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle. So yeah, very similar to some of the structures at the zoo.
So we discovered that even though PETG is a wonderful material, it's lighter weight than the Lexan, it doesn't move well. It's made for signs. It's made to stay still. So it was literally tearing itself apart with the flapping. So some materials are just better static. Do your research on your materials before you start using them. And this will be the comparison, if I remember correctly. We're doing great today. Awesome. Stained glass paint versus cellophane.
That's
the best example is the Monarch wings. The first pair I did with the paint is on one side and the cellophane's on the other side. You can see the cellophane's a little lighter in color. That's the cellophane we could find. Whereas the stained glass paint is much richer. And this was the thing, though. I prefer the stained glass paint, but it takes 10 times longer to do it because you have to let each layer dry. You have to be very careful how much you put down because it'll bleed through to the other colors.
It runs very easily.
It looks better, and it's also like, what, 6 times the price?
Cellophane, yeah.
So they're much more money. So you have to decide when you're doing things like this, what are you willing to spend? The stained glass paints come in small containers. They don't come in big things. They're meant for people to do small projects. I just love the look of it. So again, think about your budget. Think about the time you have. Think about the look. And if you can find something in between, and this is how we do quotes for things like wings. We ask people, what's your budget? How much time do we have? And we base the quote on, how do you want it to look? We base it on whatever 2 things are most important to you. If you don't have a budget, but you got a lot of time, that's great. We can spend more on the materials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're doing your own, think like that. What's important to you? Those 3 aspects, what 2 are the most important? And you'll save a lot of stress. Mechanics. Again, there's the first Pet G ones. That was the first. We call them flap packs. Again, we'll show you after everything's done. We call them flap packs because basically they make things flap. We are right now trying to figure out a more user-friendly, because we've gone through about 4 versions now of the flap packs, to experiment as to what's going to be most usable for all the wings we do.
Yeah, so we want to be able to make sure everything's nice and secure. There's no loose wires dangling here and there that can get caught on things. And the
pocket for the battery, so we're not shoving it. Yeah.
So we're not shoving it down your belt line every time.
We're going to look into different batteries, because these are very expensive, the ones we use. So we're going to look into different battery sources that are easier to replace, easier to charge, whatever it is. So once we figure out a customer one, we'll happily tell you if you want to make your own, your own wings, and then buy a flat pack off of us. You got to tell us what the wings, or we'll tell you what size to make your wings at the base. But it's something that we've had requested, because trying to teach people how to do it has been a bit of a challenge. A lot of things are laser cut. A lot of things are 3D printed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I want to make a Monarch inspired something.
So again, if you want,
get a hold of us.
With the mechanics, we'd be happy to build something.
We are thinking right now of doing a little 1-hour personal consultations for like $35 for the hour type thing, and maybe an extra 10 or 15 for each hour after that, to be able to spend time one-on-one and be able to pay our bills at the same time. It's weird. I'm telling you guys, it's the weirdest thing in the world, going from production schedules where everyone tells you what to do, when to do, how to do it. You throw in your ideas. If they're better, they let you do it your way. If they don't think it's better, you have to do it their way. But they're still paying you for the hours. They're still paying you for the time. You still have a minimum, it's always a minimum 4-hour pay. So if you get brought in to do a half-hour project, then they pay you for 4 hours.
Oh, cat.
See, it's a cosplay for cat panel. But yeah, it's been weird having our own little company now, and still being cosplayers amongst it all. So check us out on our Ko-fi. It's CarrHunger, just like it is here. And that's where we're going to start doing that. And if you got a little bit of a budget, we'll spend some time together, organize your questions. If you just want to quote, CarrHunger, CarrHunger .ca, and there's a quote request form there.
Dragonfly wings. I think that'd be fun too. And we've done dragonfly wings. Yeah, we'll get into talking about those too.
I think they're in the next video.
Spray
painted and mechanics. So these are different mechanics.
Funny you should mention.
Dude, these are the mechanics for the dragonfly wings. It's different because it's got 2 circular pulleys, and when the one wing goes up, the other one follows. These no longer exist, and we pulled apart the mechanics for the backpack because we want to do winter fairies, and we like Winter King and Queen, and we want to be able to make him like moth wings. So they'll have the same kind of mechanics, well, similar. The placing is going to be a little different, but I want to do like gray-white moth wings. But those did die. Again, they were made out of Pet G. They had an ABS back spine on them, so they wouldn't completely flop over on themselves. But again, the movement was too much. It pulled it apart. And I used a semi-clear stained glass spray paint for his wings to be able to fade the colors into each other. I love the effect, but again, the material was too flexible and it was all chipping off. I used fake leading, stained glass leading, for his little spines, which looked great, but again, too much flexibility on the Pet G. They just started peeling and they came apart. So they were a good experiment. We learned a lot from it. But if we get around to doing those kinds of wings again, we are going to use slightly different materials, which will make it heavier, but might get us better results. You don't know until we do it. And again, the spray paint is more expensive than cellophane. but you have to sandwich the cellophane. We're thinking of redesigning that as well. So it's funny that you said
Cats
that at that point.
I know, man. Cats being persistent.
Saw them on the panel yesterday. Ah, nice.
Okay, what's next on our...
Movements are so good. Thank you. He really wants our attention right now, doesn't
He
he?
probably wants some food. Fiber optics.
Fiber optics. I'm going to pay attention to Kat. You quickly
Okay.
summarize.
So the original Maeve wings, the first set that we were talking about made out of PETG, fiber optics were actually salvaged from Stargate. So they're fairly thick fiber optics. And with all the movement with the PETG, they were actually starting to break. So we were getting sections that weren't lighting up. Fiber optics are run between the layers to a central source at the base of each wing, where there's a group of LEDs. When we redid the wings, we got a thinner fiber optic that was a lot easier to deal with, and we just loaded the wings up rather than following the spines like we did on the first set. We just loaded the wings up with as much fiber optic as we could fit into it, and once again brought them all to a central spot on the along the hinge of the wing. So, and the other thing we did to change things is the original wings had an ABS spine in between the wings that helped take up the thickness for the fiber optics, but that also caused layer issues. The new wings, the two layers are actually glued together with fiber optics in between, and we have vinyl, laser cut vinyl spines on the outside of the wings, so we don't have to worry about quite so much gap in between anymore. As you can see,
We put
the new
much
fiber
more
optics,
in to get the light up.
there's a lot more. And for these, you can either just give it a little scrape with a knife or a little nick with a knife along the edges, very carefully, or you don't want to snap your fiber optics. But each point where there's a little nick or a little scratch lets light out along the length of the fiber optics. That's where you can get those little points. But yeah, you got to be really careful with it.
I believe Maleficent's wings are next. They should take up about half the panel, and the other half will be pulling wings forward.
Yeah, we're actually close to it.
Bird wings. Bird
wings.
wings.
Pick and hurt bird. So the original, the Maleficent wings were designed on the computer. As you can see, these are all laser cut components to make the actual armatures. Salvaged motors from a scrapyard, and we basically made our own gearboxes to drive the motors. We had some technical issues with gears breaking and had to actually upgrade to metal gears because the plastic ones weren't holding out.
Now this is a lot of secondhand tech.
Yeah.
I mean, those
A lot
are
of
motors
salvage
from
stuff.
an automobile for the window.
Power window motors.
The wings, the feathers themselves are lining, polyester lining, glued together, spray glued together, and then cut on the laser because the laser melts the edge and keeps it from fraying. That way we don't have to stitch them or anything. And then it's just a long piece of I think we used ABS, did we not?
For the spines,
yes. In order to keep them stable. It does come off the back plate, so you can't sit down in these, so you kind of have to take them off. That last picture was them hanging up at a spaghetti factory after a long day at the con. So, yeah. They originally, when they first started out, they opened to 14 feet. I discovered what most of you should be aware of, that if you want a wider width and you want them to be natural, in other words, not going up there, which is not natural, but out, which is natural. Two things you have to keep in mind. Number one, increase your height. Or when they're folded up, they're going to drag on the ground. People are going to step on the feathers. You're going to step on your own feathers.
So even though the character is barefoot, she wears a set of like cork heel sandals.
The same color as the dress.
2 inches thick. Yeah.
And curve them forward a tiny bit. It doesn't, it makes your length a little shorter, but it's going to keep you from falling over backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important.
Question, have you used foam before for individual feathers? We have not yet used foam. We're considering looking into doing that.
Yeah, I want to play a bit. I want to see how well I can paint it. Because that's what makes the wings look like the feathers look real, is the paint job.
Yeah.
And the way they move. So the next design will probably be lighter, so we won't need killer motors. I would love for the next pair to be lighter. They're just off to the side, partially open, one side open, one side closed, because they are dead. They were built in 2014.
Yeah, they've been to dozens and dozens of events and opened and closed hundreds of times.
Air dry sculpting clay works well for things like that. My horns, I actually hand sculpted with the artist plasticine.
She spent weeks sculpting those. They're a brilliant sculpt.
The unfortunate thing is when we took the mold, it's the only mold we could get out of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we only poured one pair of horns and then accidentally left the molds behind in BC. So if these die,
we have to start from scratch.
we have to start from scratch.
Just like the wings.
When your molds and castings take up more physical space than, but it gave me the opportunity to express. Now I'm going to ask for us to go full screen. That last video, you're going to hold to the very end.
Really love felt feathers. They hold paint well.
Yes, I'm going to ask for full screen to actually pull some things forward for the second half.
Yep.
And then we will do the last video to end, because it's a cutie little video. If we don't get to it, we don't get to it. If we do, we do. I just like sharing some of the stuff we've done. We did a lot of video projects back in BC.
Yeah.
Ta-da! We're getting there. Whee! Whee! Yay!
Okay.
You're awesome. You are. All right. So we're going to go in the order of the video. We're going to give a minute or two, like, for you to think of the questions while he puts things on my back. We're going to go in the same order, basically. We don't have any of the static ones. Those were all customers. And those ones from way back in the 90s are long gone.
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened to them. So we're going to put Maeve on me.
Okay. Do we want to show the monarch wings up close first?
Well, where's the static pack for the monarchs?
It's on the bin down below.
Oh, okay. So you grab the static pack.
Okay.
I'll grab the wings.
So this is an example of, this is sort of a prototype of the static plate for the wings. They do have hinges so the wings can be posed, but what we've done is we've added some steel
Just stuck
coating
them
material, stuck that in there to keep the wings from flapping around wildly while we're moving around.
So you basically just take those little static pins out. We're trying to experiment with different kinds of hinges that maybe lock open and closed, so you can lock it into different positions, but we haven't found those yet, and we were getting too impatient.
Yeah.
Part of the reason it's shaped that way is because your shoulder blades basically sit into the curved space. And if you got light wings, if you're wearing really light wings, we would use a smaller plate and the clear bra straps that you can find for people who want to look like they're wearing strapless bras. But that way you don't have to rely on your outfit keeping your wings there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Comparison of the two different types of wings. So these are the ones we use for the static plate, and they are the ones that have the cellophane layered in between. You can see
I'm upside down. I knew something was wrong.
The other ones, the ones Christina's holding, are the ones that we did with the stained glass paint, and they've got the provision at the hinge end to be attached to the flat pack. So actually flip this around so this side is visible.
Oh yeah. Yeah, these were done during COVID. So the problem became the suppliers for the plastics we were using. All of this Lexan was going out to create COVID shields and stuff. So it not only tripled in price all of a sudden, but it wasn't available anywhere. And we'd already made the painted side of it and didn't have anything to sandwich it in. So this stuff is slowly breaking. We're gonna have to get budget at some point and remake these from scratch.
This one you can definitely see it on the wing. There's distinct cracks on the material.
Right. So the other side of all these of the Monarch wings is frame plastic. We don't even know what kind of plastic it is.
Yeah.
We
weird.
don't. We went to Walmart. We bought a bunch of large, cheapy, you know, those kind of
Big
cardboardy
poster
frames with the plastic on top. We bought a bunch of those, and I don't regret it because we got it done for the Monarch fundraiser that we were doing them for on time. But they are coming apart already. Like, I mean, they're just so. Only use mystery material if you're lacking time.
Exactly.
But we got the fundraiser done.
That's that and that. All right.
Okay, Martin's going to quickly put these on while I read comments if there's any.
So this is the plate for the flat pack that we've designed. We have bent metal bands that go over the shoulders.
Just think of corset. This is why my hair is up and under a hat right now.
And then this one has a.
He hates it when my hair gets in the way.
Yeah, trying to put this on while she's wearing a wig is just crazy.
Across your rib cage, if you're a lady, is best because if anything happens, your boobs will stop it. If you're a guy, we recommend that you make a longer pack and have it go into underneath your rib cage.
There. And these straps here.
It's good to design your outfit to cross the straps. It's much more stable. If you have to do something like the Maleficent is over here, and it's really hard on my shoulders, but it's worth it. But the outfit is just too low cut. Whereas Maeve has got this little piece in front that I just put big flowers on, and it makes these disappear.
So the shoulder straps help keep the back. If you turn over, help keep the back plate from falling back off of her back. The 4 bolts come out, actually on the Maeve costume, the 4 bolts come out through buttonholes we put in the back of the dress, and then the pack goes on the back. On the Monarch costume, the pack actually lives outside, and we have a shell that goes over top of it, as well as more of the floral Monarch.
Although we've changed that design now.
We've changed that design a little bit too.
It's one of those hide it by bringing attention to it.
Yeah. There's there.
I'm not going to be able to put Maeve on anymore. Now you'll see that these wings now have little bubbles on them. Somehow moisture got in them. Yep, I got them.
So Christina's stabilizing the wings by holding the bottom of them while I get the bolts lined up. In place, we've got little wing nuts, or little knurled nuts that fit over top. So it's fairly quick to put together. We usually transport the wings not attached to the pack, so they have to be attached to the pack first. Ribcage for the larger chested, natural waist for smaller chested, such as it were. Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure these are nicely screwed down so nothing shifts. And then for Maeve, there's a sort of a little capelet that comes down between the wings, and between the capelet and the wig hides all the mechanics.
It's very frustrating for him to put it on, though. Because my hair is always in the way, even if we move it forward, it's always falling around.
Yeah, the wig, because the wig usually goes on before the wings. The wings are almost the last thing, just because of. Dart, my daughter just asked if you can fly in them. That was the one
yes.
paper box. It said Dart's daughter just won the con. All right, so I'm just going to let the battery hang. Normally, we usually have a little pouch there that we can attach it to. And power it up. Step a little bit to your right so we don't run the risk of whacking into the Maleficent wings. Powering it up. We have basically two high-power servo motors run by a little microcontroller and a wireless remote so that someone else can be turning the wings, operating the wings. We've had the wearer operate their own wings sometimes, but what happens is they can't see the side or behind them, so sometimes they end up whacking people. Christina can tell an interesting story about that.
The munchkin.
So then we go.
I smacked a kid.
Yeah, she was wearing the Maleficent wings at an event, and I had to go use the washroom, so I handed her the remote. I said, "I'll be back," and people wanted to see the wings open, so she opened the wings. And there was a little toddler, a little 4-year-old or something.
Oh, he was like 2 or 3.
What was he, 2 or 3?
Yeah, he was
running
tiny.
across to off to her side. She couldn't see him because the wings basically cover her periphery, and she knocked the kid over with the wings.
And I thought, oh my God, how do I stay in character and say sorry? And
Because she's Maleficent, right?
You know,
She's
Maleficent.
gonna be mean.
The mother actually wound up laughing. She was
So I
pointing
got-
at her child on the ground and suddenly said, "Serves you right for getting in her way," and was just
I'm gonna
laughing at her
Drop the
child.
lights here.
And I'm like, okay, she's that kind of parent.
Try and drop the lights. I was able to do this yesterday with just minimal volume.
Right now, we can really hear the sound of the motor because it's trying to keep things where it belongs, so to speak. And
There.
but once it's underneath the outfit, you don't hear it. Like everything muffles. Is that as darkly as we can get it?
I'll pull the other blind. There. That's literally as dark as we can get it right now. So you can see all the fiber optics in the wings, and the combination of where they're glued and where they've been sort of nicked or scratched gives the light. And we brought them out to the tip of the wings too, so you can see some good, nice points of light along the
I'm going
tip
to
and edge of the
try
wing.
to get it closer to the camera.
So elegant. The flapping brings attention to all the colors in the paint too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are the cellophane.
These are cellophane.
Cellophane wings.
I'm going to try to get it really close. Without
See if
knocking
I can
everything
shadow
over.
this a little bit more. I can't.
So these are smaller than the first pair we made, which, you know, they have a bit of a harder time producing light, but we put twice as many in than we did on the original ones. So it just catches the eye. And again, they're designed to just kind of fluctuate on and off to get that kind of glitter. Thank you. Lights on.
Lights on.
You'll notice that when they're back, you can put them back, you set them back. You can see the pull right here because all that weight is back there.
And these wings aren't even terribly heavy. The whole thing weighs about 6 or 7 pounds.
But your spine is not designed for this. So you got to keep in mind that you got to bend this properly.
So you want
We
to-
recommend people not do just straps because when the wings are back, the strap is fabric and it'll just keep stretching.
Mhm.
So it's boning. It's steel boning that people use for their historical garments and stuff. That's all it is. But make sure you bend it accordingly to your shoulder.
Mhm.
I mean, we tell people who we've made these for. We always tell them how to rebend it if it's not bent appropriately for their shoulder, and have someone pull on it to make sure that you bent it right before you add the wings, because you're going to either get a pinching up here when it jabs in if it's not bent right, or down here if you made it like too far forward or too high on your body. And keep in mind, wings are supposed to come from your shoulder blades, right? So if they're too high or too low, they don't look natural.
Mhm.
You have to make sure the main part of the wing, like the upper main part of the wing, is on your shoulder blades if you want that natural look. So if you'd like to
Release you.
release the wing,
Release you. Power off. Now I can manually fold the wings back in. Disconnect a couple things. That's done. And she's free.
Well, almost.
Almost.
Not a quick process. Well, it's faster than it would be than if I had the outfit on. Now I'm going to introduce you to these clips. I don't even remember where we originally bought them, but I know we're going to have to find another supplier because I love them.
Clips. Yeah, I can't remember. They were actually they were leftover stock, I think, when the Atom suit was being built.
Oh, it could be, yeah. Yeah, when everything kind of went under, we did sneak some stuff out. Like right now, the leather patches we're making are out of leftover leather from Stargate as well. So these little clips, if you can see it clearly enough, they've got a little button here. It's a safety button. So when they go together, if the pinching, like you know how the spring always wears out on these, right? That little safety button will still hold it into place. Now it does mean you got to press that down, but these are brilliant. They're low profile. They're not huge. They take a lot of weight for their little size. The spring's already going. But yeah, you have to go like that and like that. So if these, one of these breaks off, it won't hold as much weight anymore. But this way, if it slides and breaks while you're wearing it, it's not going to completely come apart on you. I love these with a passion. And like I said, they're very low profile, which means they hide under your cosplay really well.
Awesome.
All right.
How are we for time?
How are we for time?
We've got about 10, 15 minutes left.
All right, let's quickly show them the inside of the Maleficent wings. They are no longer working because the gears have stripped themselves down.
That's a good angle.
Looking in the small camera, little more. There we go. Because we really only
10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, this one's tied shut because again the gears have been stripped. These are partially stripped, but these have been going since 2014.
Mm-hmm.
You can see all the quick repairs on site with the hot glue and stuff. There's a bit of a look on the inside of this.
The motors and the armatures.
You can see a lot of them have broken off. I'm actually missing, but I really loved using the lining fabric because it looks like the under ones. I'll grab one that's painted. Right, once you paint them up, they actually look like feathers.
They look and move like giant feathers,
which is what I really like. It adds more weight than like using a foam, but which means I'm going to start experimenting with the foam anyway because more people are asking about it. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to remake these when we have a budget again because I'd like to buy motors that aren't this heavy. Mm-hmm. But this is a lot of hack stuff. This is all leftover stuff from the Atom suit. This is all ABS leftover from the Atom suit.
Leftover materials.
But it was going in the garbage and we went, no! And again, it's just there's nothing wrong with the electronics in the middle. Mm-hmm. It's just the gears are completely stripped after coming open and closed. Oh, and another thing I want you all to remember is kids still do love these characters. This is that gray packing foam.
It's hard to see. It's just above frame. Yeah.
Angle it.
This is bolted down, so I can put
the
angle.
So this is the horns are actually packing foam covered with latex paint.
And we're still not in frame. Wow.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. Right. And I wear heels so that I can get more length out of the wings themselves.
So intense inside, yeah.
So yeah, I've had to repaint it a number of times because someone's bopped it or whatever. But it's just latex paint, and I just did a little bit of yellowing here so it looks like actual bone. But this way, if a kid hugs you, you don't take his eye out.
All
right.
Usually frowned upon.
5 minutes of questions, if you got them. Still had a
pull these a little out of the way. There we go. Okay. So intense inside. Yeah.
I mean, there's more stuff, but this is the problem with doing this for a very long time is we got a lot of stuff. Like plasti dip on foam. I don't know. Plasti dip is a chemical reaction, is it not?
Um,
It might heat up and melt the foam.
it depends on the foam too. Like the EVA kind of foam, the packing foam usually is pretty good with plastic dip. But plastic dip will add a lot of weight if you're trying to do that for feathers. Yeah.
Yeah, just latex paint. It's cheap. It's simple. Most people have it lying around the house.
How would you balance for characters with only one wing like Sephiroth? Practice.
Hip.
Sometimes we've
Trust your hips.
trust your hips and your footing. We've done these wings where we've opened up one wing only. To say she wants to pose with somebody where just one wing is sort of around.
I don't
some
have
people,
room to open up.
or she doesn't have room to open both of them, but all the weight goes to one side, right? So it's a matter of making sure your footing, your leg on that side is supporting yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, just
Fair.
shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. He always
Yeah.
warns me. Well, he doesn't always warn
Not
me.
always. Sometimes it won't.
During panels, it's like he's like, so they can also open up individually. And will you tell me first?
Say that, then pause a moment, and Or there's times where I'm juggling things and I'm trying to organize stuff. And I've got the remote in my hand, and it's accidentally pushing on one button. She's like, Martin, my wings are opening. It's like, oh crap.
And don't do what we did. We use a lot of garage door openers or car, little easy to carry things that we can hide underneath the outfit or have someone else hide under theirs. But a lot of times they're all on the same signal.
Oh, the plastic dip on the horns.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. That's what I mean. Well, this foam.
Yeah, that foam might react.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because plastic dip is a chemical reaction.
Yeah.
So it's not going to dry like a paint does.
Because as it does dry, it's curing.
I mean, if you try it, let us know how it worked.
Yeah.
But try it with a scrap. Don't try it with your project. Please don't try it with your project. Don't be foolish like us. We're crazy. But yeah, I found latex paint just cheap and easy and stuff. But yeah, give it a try. But I think plastic dip is a chemical reaction. If it is, it'll melt the foam.
Right. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah. Where was my brain? Not here. I'm done.
There it goes.
Damn it, kitchen! It feels so
Moves
small in here with
fast.
everything in one little
I know, we
room.
got all of our props and everything out here. Yeah.
Plans for next cosplay? We're gonna finally take on a furry.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do Robin and Marion.
The Disney version. And it's funny, in our previous half of the panel, I can't remember which year it was talking about doing the Robin Hood
On a budget.
on a budget using.
We're gonna do it on a
Warbler
budget. We're gonna do it on a budget without using Warbler.
I did one. Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's right. Dart, you were the one.
It's
right?
time for me to. You will notice all of our cosplays. He's in the helmets. He's in the masks. He's in all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not, because I got beaten up when I used to do mascot work, and really beaten up. And there was no one there to help me.
A couple of teens thought it'd be fun to try to knock off
And-
Zeddy's. You were doing Zeddy, right?
No, I was doing
you were-
Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, trying to knock off Winnie the Pooh's head.
And you were in Elmo.
That's right.
Then because it was a private party, it was the
Elmo
Toronto
kicked
Sun.
some butt that day.
I just ran for the emergency exit and curled up in the stairwell, but the parents were even laughing, and it pulled my jaw out of place. I swallowed a filling. It just,
Where was that?
yeah. But I have been avoiding anything where I can't see.
Mhm.
And after spending a lot of time with the kids last year at Anime North, I think it's time that I try.
Mhm.
And what better characters to try with than the ones that I grew up on.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna do it.
it's going to be very scary
Mhm.
for me. It's going to be very, very scary. But I want to do it in places where I know there's going to be support if anyone tries.
Mhm.
And of course, I'm menopausal, so I get hot flashes. So we're designing the head to be a mesh so that there's airflow.
Anne was very welcoming for Robin. Yeah, exactly. And this is it too. Even after Anime North and hanging out with the kids, we did an outing with them to Niagara Falls and got to see how they functioned as a unit
It's awesome.
in a non-con environment, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah. X number
Don't
of
forget
them.
fans. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mindless sleeves and pants. Yeah.
well, the plan is to fit it really close to our head. There may not be room for fans.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know yet. And I've already lost a lot of hair.
Inside the head, I don't think there's going to be room for fans, but with enough ventilation.
Well, the nice thing
Big
about them
layers,
is there isn't paws or anything. We're making gloves, basically. They're very human, which is also another reason why we chose them.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to keep the budget down.
Yep.
We wanted to make the tail move. We wanted eyes to blink, but we don't have the money for the motors and the, we have the skill. We don't have the money. Yep. So we're going to make them that if we get the money later on, we can upgrade, or if I don't have a freak fest inside it, we'll be able to upgrade. Mm-hmm. They are more an experiment for me than anything else. Because I shouldn't be letting that trauma follow me through my life. Yeah, especially as an artist, I should not be, limiting myself.
Yeah, exactly. I was like 150 maybe. That's good. That's a pretty good budget.
With sleeves and pants. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I get the cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got like a stretch terry cloth kind of.
Like a fleece. Yeah.
A fleece. Mm-hmm. That we found really cheap at Fabricline. It was on clearance.
5 minutes, thank you.
So if anyone's got any more questions, we still have to do our winter fairies, but we were going to do them before the end of the winter, but then everything happened.
And prioritizing by the time we get to them, winter will be over. So
we're just going to make them when we get the chance. Yeah. Because we have the materials for it. We should. We got a whole bunch of cheap wedding dresses, and this was like 3 years ago. We were going to make them, and we got a whole bunch of like cheap wedding dresses that we're going to cut up, and they're still, including my original wedding dress.
That's right. Yeah.
It definitely doesn't fit me anymore. I am not the same body I was. And that's another thing too. Try to make your cosplays
as adjustable as possible.
As adjustable as possible. Some things you can't, but if you can, do it. Because it's especially if you're a woman in your later stages of life, you're going to be going up and down until your body decides what it's doing anymore. Sometimes I fit my elf outfit, sometimes I don't. Suede is not very flexible, but when I made the outfit, I didn't think this was going to happen. We're so clueless when we're young, aren't we? Oh my God.
When we're in our 30s, yeah.
54, 55.
Yep.
You'll be 56 in May.
I know, yeah. It's a couple of months from now.
Hold on, when is Anime North?
The end of May.
Oh, not the beginning?
Closer now, yeah. It's closer to our...
so we can't get you on your birthday? Oh, man!
Nope. But we can get you on your birthday at an Ontario Pirate Festival.
Thanks for reminding me.
August long weekend in Guelph. So,
when a whole bunch of pirates wish you happy birthday, it's risky.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. So if there's no more questions, we're good. I don't know if you still want to run that little video, that cute little last video.
It's about a 2-minute video?
Yeah, it's about 2 minutes.
I was like, how long is it? Because I can toss it on if it's not that long.
Yeah.
I think it's about a 2-minute video.
It's a cute thing to have everyone smile at the end of this. This is the kind of stuff we were shooting back in BC. I love her ears. I really love her ears. Now, if this doesn't make you all smile, I'll be very disappointed.
If you're experiencing technical difficulties, please stand by.
Yeah, unmute it, please. It makes it cuter. She slept well that night.
She did.
That's done.
And there we go.
Woo!
Gesundheit.
That was our little team back in BC, and Bliss was always the little girl's favorite. I mean, they just were so drawn to her.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm on mute. Ah, sorry about that. Thank you very much. Go back to this. I'm on mute. You can hear me, but I have everyone else on mute. Sorry. Thank you very much for a wonderful panel, Christine and Martin. Take two. And thank you so much for joining us. Applause.